Hi Ted. Oh, there you are, sitting in the sunshine. You got your sunnies on, you got your meat pie, your drink bottle, and you got a story for us to read. Oh, great. The next story in the Faraway Tree, and it's called Moonface Gets Into Trouble. Oh, this sounds like a good one, Ted. Let's sit down and read this one. The children didn't really feel that they wanted to go to any lands at the top of the tree for a little while. It was a bit too exciting to climb through the clouds and see what was above them, but they did want to see their friends in the faraway tree, especially dear old Moonface. So the very next time they had a day to themselves, they set off through the enchanted wood to the faraway tree. There was no rope to guide them this time. It was only at night that the rope was hung through the boughs to help the wood folk up and down. The children began to climb up. Every door and window in the tree seemed to be shut today. There was no one around. It was very dull climbing up the tree. Even when they reached Silky's house, that was shut too, and they couldn't hear Silky singing or anything. They knocked, but there was no answer. So on they went up to Moonface's, keeping a good lookout for Mother Washalot's dirty washing water coming swishing down onto them. But not even her water appeared that day. It all seemed very quiet and peaceful. They reached Moonface's house at the top of the tree and tapped at his door. Nobody opened it. But inside they could quite well hear someone crying. It was really mysterious. "It doesn't sound like Moonface," said Franny, puzzled. "Let's go in and see who it is." So they opened the door and went in, and it was Silky, sitting in the corner, crying bitterly. "Whatever's the matter?" said Joe. "And where's Moonface?" said Franny. "Oh dear," sobbed Silky. "Moonface has been thrown up into some dreadfully strange land at the top of the faraway tree because he was rude to Mr. What's-his-name down below." "What? That old man who's always sitting in the chair and snoring," said Bessie, remembering that they didn't see him that day. "Whatever did Moonface do?" "Oh, he was very naughty," wept Silky. "So was I. You see, we heard Mr. What's-his-name snoring as usual, and we crept up to him and saw that his mouth was wide open. And oh dear, we popped a handful of acorns into it. And when he woke up, he spluttered and popped, and then he caught sight of us hiding behind a branch." "Oh goodness, did you really dare do such a naughty thing?" cried Bessie. "No wonder he was angry." "Moonface is dreadfully bad sometimes," said Silky, wiping her eyes. "He makes me naughty too." "Well, we ran away up the tree to Moonface's house. I got in safely, but Moonface didn't. Mr. What's-his-name caught hold of him and threw him right up through the hole in the clouds into the land that is there today." "Goodness gracious." "Well, can't he get back down again?" Franny asked in alarm. "He can climb down the ladder, surely, back into the tree." "Well, yes, he could," said Silky. "But you see, Mr. What's-his-name is sitting on the ladder ready to catch him and spank him and throw him back. So what's the use of that?" "What land is up there today?" asked Joe. I think it's the land of Saucepan Man," said Silky. "He lives there in his little cottage with his pots and his pans. He's quite harmless. But you see, Mr. What's-his-name will sit on the ladder in the land till a land swings around and another one comes. Then Moonface won't be able to get back, and he may be lost forever." "Oh dear," said Joe in dismay, and the girls stared at Silky in despair, for they were very fond of Moonface now. "Isn't there anything we can do?" Joe said at last. "Oh, I hope so, Ted, don't you? I hope he's not stuck up there." Oh, there's cranky old Mr. What's-his-name. He's sitting on his chair. "Well, there's just one hope," said Silky, fluffing out her beautiful golden hair. "Old Saucepan Man is a great friend of Mr. What's-his-name. If he knew his land was at the top of the faraway tree today, he might he might come along and have a cup of tea with Mr. What's-his-name, and then Moonface could slip down the ladder back again. Oh, said the children, and they looked at one another. They could quite well see that this meant one or all of them were going to have to go up the ladder into another strange land. I'll go, said Bessie. After all, Moonface helped us last time. We must help him now. All three of us will go, said Joe. So they set off to the top branch of the little ladder, and there they found Mr. What's-his-name sitting, reading his newspaper. There he is. And smoking an enormous pipe that sent clouds of smoke out of the hole in the cloud. Please, can we pass? Asked Bessie timidly. No, you can't, said Mr. What's-his-name rudely. Well, we've got to, said Joe, so if we tread on your feet, you must excuse us. Mr. What's-his-name simply wouldn't move. He was really a very cross old man. He slapped each of the children as they squeezed past him, and they were very glad when they had climbed through the hole and they were in the land above. So, this is the land of Saucepan Man, said Franny, when they were standing in the grass safely. What a funny little land. It was an island floating in what seemed to be a sea of white. It really wasn't much bigger than a large field. Bessie went to the edge and looked over. Oh, gracious, she said in alarm. It's like a cliff, and the sea is like a big white cloud. Don't go too near the edge, anybody. It wouldn't be nice to fall off. Hey, hey, suddenly came an excited voice. They turned around and saw Moonface. Oh, I wonder if that's Saucepan Man's house. Have a look at all the things. Oh, there's a kettle on the roof. Lots of things there. They turned around and saw Moonface waving to them and running towards them. Hey, how did you get here? Hello, we came to see what we could do for you, said Joe. We heard that what happened. Old Mr. What's-his-name is still sitting on the ladder and waiting for you. But Silky says this is the land of Saucepan Man, who's a great friend of What's-his-name's. So we've come to see him and ask him if he'll go and have a tea with his friend, and then you can come back home. Oh, good, said Moonface joyfully. I didn't know what land this was, and goodness me, I was quite afraid of falling off. It's so small. Where do you suppose the old Saucepan Man lives? I can't imagine, said Joe, looking all around. All he could see was a very large stretch of grass with no houses and no one in sight. Where in the world could a Saucepan Man live? We'll have to go carefully all around this funny little land, said Bessie. His house must be somewhere, but we'd better hurry, for you never know when the land will swing away from the tree, and we don't want to live in this strange place forever. They began to walk around the land. Presently they came to a cliff that was not quite as steep as the others. They peered over it, and Joe pointed to some things stuck out of the cliff. What are those? He said. They look like some sort of steps down the cliffside, said Bessie. Oh, they're saucepans, said Franny suddenly. Yes, saucepans with their handles stuck into the cliff and the pan part to tread on. How strange. Well, this must be the way down to Saucepan Man's house, said Joe. Come on, girls, but be careful. You may fall and roll right to the edge of this land. So very carefully they began to climb down the cliff, treading on the saucepans stuck into the earth. It really was strange. They got down at last, and then they heard a very curious noise. It's the sound of crashing and banging and clattering and clanging. The children were so alarmed. The noise is coming from just around the corner, said Joe. They crept cautiously to the corner and peeped around. There they saw a crooked little house with saucepans for a chimney. The noise was coming from inside the house. The children crept to the window and looked in, and inside they saw the strangest little man they had ever seen, dancing the strangest dance. He had saucepans and kettles hung all over him, and he wore a saucepan for a hat, and he crashed 2 saucepans together as he danced. Do you think he's dangerous? asked Joe in a whisper. He's making lots of noise, isn't he, Ted? Oh, this must be him. Now I know why they call him Saucepan Man, Ted. He's got lots of saucepans everywhere. That's the end of that story. And the next one's called The Funny Old Saucepan Man.